Wherever you are.
Eric was just saying, had a nice statement, saying he can't make the same mistake, took ownership for it. So you just want to follow up with your thoughts?
Well, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. He just gets a little carried away sometimes. And I mean, truth be known, we've all done dumb things. And we're all at least fairly intelligent people that make mistakes. He made a bad mistake. So you acknowledge it and move on.
So move on. Kansas without Keedy, how does this change what you guys can do?
Well, I've said from the beginning, I think he's the best on-the-ball defender in our league, which says a lot. And so, and that puts a lot of pressure on the guys that are filling in for him.
Joe have to be more careful not to get into foul trouble in a game like this when you don't have the same rotation?
I think we have to be more careful all the time. I could expound a lot more, but it would get me in trouble.
Turnovers have been a year-long issue. You had 35 in your 2 games, and your starting point guard's not out there. How do you clean that up?
Well, we think how to answer that. You know, I told you before about Sister Marie Helene, you know, and Sister Marie Helene thought that the more senses that you could touch, be it sight, be it feel, be it, you know, so forth and so on, and that's kind of what we're trying to do. We've watched it. We've discussed it. We've drilled it.
I thought maybe you were going down the prayer route.
Nah, not as good as that as Sister Marie Helene was.
This team was looking, it's a typical Kansas team, but they've had 6 games with 2 possession or less that they've won, including the conference games. And then you've had 2 league games where you had opportunities to win and you weren't able to do it. How do you flip it?
There's a lot I could say, but how do we flip it? We make things happen at the end of games. I mean, how did we flip it when we were really good and made the run? We did it by guys making shots. We did it by a 5'8" guy guarding a 7-foot guy who had him outweighed by almost 200 pounds. You know, Deshaun Butler made big shot after big shot after big shot. We've got to have people step up. Have people step up, and I think we have to do a much better job of valuing the ball.
So the point guard, you know, 6'1", 6'2", and then the rest of their starting 5 is, you know, 6'6", 6'8" range. They don't really have that, you know, 6'10", 6'11" guy to match up with Jimmy, but they also probably switch a lot. Teams have struggled shooting the ball against them. Just matchup wise, what are you seeing going into this one?
I think we probably have a lot in common. I mean, in terms of size, we're not very big either. So I think we have a lot in common in that regard. We've got to cut down the dumb things, and we've got good enough players that they shouldn't be doing the dumb things that's happening. You know, the forced passes, the bad passes, the defensive breakdowns, you know, those kind of things really need cleaned up. And I think it's a lot harder when you bring a whole bunch of guys in, not a whole bunch, but enough guys in that are coming from different environments, different ways of doing things. And then you're asking them to do it our way. And they've been doing it another way for a while. You know, neuromuscular integration is muscle memory. And you know, the better your muscle memory, the more successful you're going to be. So you continue to do it and do it and do it, and it doesn't happen overnight.
In terms of Jimmy, does he, I mean, this is probably going to be one of the few games where, you know, he's not going up against another 7-footer, 250, 260. Is there an advantage with him in there as long as he can stay in the game, I guess?
Well, I think I can say this without being in trouble. There's more than 10 guys out there deciding the game. So, I mean, it has a lot to do with that.
Bob, you've seen 2 games in the league now. Is this league going to be simply a matter of survival? I mean, it doesn't look like there's anybody that's dominating. It looks like everything's going to go to the wire almost, except maybe for Texas.
Well, think about this. Our league's 16 in the net. Baylor's 0-2 and they're ranked in the top 25 in the country. They're 0-2 just like we are. Texas Tech's 0-2 and had won 27 in a row at home before they lost to Kansas. Oklahoma's 0-2 with 2 losses by a total of 4 points. We lost 2 road games that got away from us in the end. Kansas State scored 116 points against Texas. Big 12's average ranking in the net is 26.8. That's far and away the best. The closest to that is 60.1. That means we are playing in the best league in America against the best people in America that are coached by the best coaches in America. And we've had every opportunity to win, and we didn't finish the games. That's on all of us.
They ran a graphic during the Oklahoma State game I thought was interesting. They showed the 10 teams in the nation that had the toughest remaining schedule, and all 10 were the Big 12 teams.
I think that's accurate. I mean, I have thought back about the other leagues that I've been in, and I've been blessed, man. I've coached against what people consider the greatest coaches of all time. I've coached against them. I just didn't do it game after game after game after game after game.
Well, that stuff there, therapeutic at all? Part of it may be like obvious, but I wonder if you don't want guys thinking about that, like, it's going to be hard and we might lose one because it's so hard, but also maybe it helps looking around saying this whole league is kind of as good as everything
is. Is it what, therapeutic? What?
So, I mean, just what you read right there. I mean, you're 0-2, but as you said, very close, and very good teams are going to be 0-2 in this league, but also maybe that makes guys take it easy knowing it is going to be so hard.
Mike, I detest losing. I detest it. I've never been a loser. I've never accepted losing. I was raised that way. I think, unfortunately, there's 9 other guys who probably feel the same way I do.
Things that are bothering you, does it go back to the Stony Brook game? Is that where some of the issues seem to have popped up you're dealing with right now?
Well, I think we thought we were better than what we were. We didn't guard the Stony Brook game, and they made shots. You give them credit; they made shots, but we gave them good shots to they were able to make. I don't know. I don't think the Stony Brook game really has a whole lot to do with it. There's been some things happen that have totally turned games. I mean, and you have to really look at the film and study the film to see where some of those took place and from whom.
What have you seen from the development of Sumnick lately? You seem pleased with his effort the other day.
Well, Pat, first of all, Pat's an extremely, extremely intelligent kid. He's in aerospace engineering. He's a smart dude. I like the way he competes. Obviously, we need a skill level to get better, but you can say that about virtually anybody. But his competitiveness is really at the top of the charts.
Coach Jalen Wilson for Kansas, obviously scoring a lot more than he has, but he's shooting the ball a lot more too. So is his numbers a matter of just more opportunity, or is he a better player from what you scouted?
Well, I think Bill's always done that. I think Bill's always had the guy. Yeah. But you look. Harris is 5 for 5.
Right.
5 for 5 from 3. I mean, he's their point guard. I don't know. It's kind of like Bill's got a 4-leaf clover in his pocket. He got those 2 guys a year ago that are both pros now that they weren't even being recruited by people. And of course, like the fools we are, we go out and start recruiting them, and he just goes in and takes them because they're right there in his backyard. I mean, Grady Dick was the same way. I mean, he wasn't. They got him late. Just.
He's an in-state kid, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all were. Those 3 guys were.
Back to not the 4-leaf clover thing, but when you go in and you play these guys, you have the mindset with your guys, listen, you have to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves. That's how it is. And all the other stuff that goes into it, you have to go in and thoroughly beat these guys to beat them. Is that how you go about it?
John, there's a lot of things I could say about that. Yeah, you got to beat them, but you need some breaks too. That was probably as well put as I could make it.
Not asking this to try and get you to say anything.
No, you wouldn't do that.
No, I would actually, but not here. But I saw a tweet today, and I think it might have been Fran Fischella, and he mentioned that referee, and even if it wasn't him, whoever said it, he mentioned that officiating right now is the hardest it's ever been. And I was wondering, I mean, you can even say good things about officials if you want, but is it really, is the game in need of looking at that.
Think about where it
hasn't
came
reached
from.
that point.
Think about where the statement came from. From a guy who said it was just a basketball play when a guy at Texas a year ago tried to take our guy's head off.
Okay.
And he said it was just a basketball play.
And that's not hard officiating. Shouldn't be.
I mean, that just shows to me he's never played much, because you mean somebody takes a whack at you like that. I mean, if that's me, they're going to take about 3 or 4 guys to stop me, because that was totally uncalled for, not part of our game, not part of what's supposed to be and what's supposed to happen. And for Fran to justify it,
Can't do it, huh? How hard is it, though? How hard has it become on those guys? I mean, it's so fast, guys are so big, and
Bob, it's
the
like
rules,
anything.
the rules maybe not well defined.
Wait a minute, I was on the rules committee.
That's what I mean.
They're getting paid more than they ever got paid. You know, what's the difference between that and, you know, I can remember back when coaches weren't making $100,000 a year. They had the same pressure, maybe not quite as much because of television and all that other stuff, as we have now. I mean, hey, if that's what you want to do, then do it and do the best you can possibly do. And like coaches, if we can't win, we're not gonna last long.
Replay, especially up on the board there, has got to be pretty tough on officials. So here I am in Ashford Corner. I can't believe that.
I don't know. It's harder, probably. Yeah. I mean, it's also harder on players. I mean, this is we're in a world now where you don't want to do something stupid because the world's going to see it. So does that make it any different that if you miss a call, the world shouldn't see it? I don't think so. That's what they get paid for. If I screw something up, I'm going to get vilified for it, and should. And I've never bitched about it or said a word, as I think you realize. I take the blame, and I think it's a huge thing when you get a 21-year-old come in here and apologize because he's taking the blame. We're not supposed to have grown-ass men take the blame. It's real life.
It's become that. It used to be a game.
Well, I mean, you know, it's changed, Bob. I mean, you remember the days I coached in the days where there was 2 of them. It wasn't 3, there was 2. I don't know. That's hard. You know, so. You know, and I honestly think that the majority of them do a great job. You know, they work at their craft. But you know, it's the same thing. Players aren't any good unless they work at their craft. Coaches aren't any good unless they work at their craft. Aren't they a part of the game? I mean, you can't put one foot in and then take it back out. You got to put both feet in, and they have decided to put both feet in. Deal with it.
I'll follow up with some, like you explain his recruitment. Did you know anything of him? High school, Pat Sumnick. From high school, Robert Morris days, or was it when he got into junior college that you found out about him? How'd the recruitment go?
No, Larry recruited him.
Uh-huh.
Larry recruited him. I think Larry started recruiting him at Robert Morris, and then he left there and went to Triton, and Larry continued to recruit him. I mean, I went, obviously, I went and watched them, but Larry recruited them.
These lapses that are getting you, how do you avoid them or how do you overcome them?
It's like anything else, John. I think you continue to work on it. You continue to see it. You know, it's, you know, again, I mean, I go back to Sister Maria Helene. I mean, you watch it, you read about it, you physically do it. You use all your senses to be able to transform into someone who has an understanding of how things are supposed to happen, why they happen, what do you do when they happen. It's not easy. It just shouldn't be.
First two Big 12 games, ton of fouls called both games. You guys were able to get Oklahoma State in foul trouble, Kansas State in foul trouble. Do you almost expect that style of the way the game was called the first two games to continue to be called for the remaining 16?
I have absolutely no idea. And that's being honest. I have absolutely no idea.
And my next question is, if it does, and you can get Kansas in foul trouble, is that a major plus for you guys? Because I'm wondering about their depth, I guess. Kansas's depth.
You know, Justin, back in the day, officials used to work in groups. Back then it was pairs.
Right.
And so they were very familiar with themselves, very familiar with, I mean, now you've got officials from everywhere. And we need them. We need them. There's more games being played now than ever. There's more games being played with scrutiny than ever. They don't know. I mean, but to think that they all think alike, they all agree on it. They don't.
See it the same way.
They don't all see it the same way. Not any more than coaches do.
It's a better question for an official, I know, but you do talk to them and you run across them and you know some of them. When you say work on their craft, like treadmill, watch film, like what's the craft of it?
Well, the
Jump shooting and passing for
good
players
ones
like
stay in great shape. The good ones are constantly, they watch a lot of film. They watch a lot of film. They're involved in trying to help younger officials make the step. And they do that all summer. So you're not talking about guys that work for 7-8 months and take the rest of the year off. They don't. And they feel obviously compelled to try to help younger guys continue to move up the chain. So it's just not guys running out there blowing a whistle. You know, I know when I was on the rules committee, we had guys from the far west just came in to observe the rules committee so that they could better understand how the rules were expected to be called the following year. They weren't on the committee. They just asked, can I sit in?
Officials?
Uh-huh. Not a lot of them, but officials, yeah. And then I think what they did was then they went and dispersed that to their group of guys. And I think because of the work that they put in the summertime trying to help young officials get better and understand, there's more collaboration among those kind of guys than there ever was.
Anything else?
Just one. Do you have any timeline on when you might know about Perez? I've seen a bunch of different dates floating around about Perez.
I have no idea.
Buggy that you don't have a bookend date.
They've never given us one.
So, I mean, you could look at your phone any minute now or any day now and it might be there.
I doubt it. But eventually, yeah. I don't think it's going to be in the next few days.
To Justin's question about their depth, the bulk of their minutes come from, I think, 7 guys. I don't know what the deal is with Pettiford. I don't know whether he's going to be available, what the situation is there. But does that help you at all with dealing with Keedy?
I don't understand.
Well, I mean, they don't. The bulk of the minutes come from 7 guys, and you got your point guard out, and you had issues with turnovers. And can you help them through that a little bit because they don't play as many guys?
That's Bill's choice.
Yeah.
Keedy, without a question, and Keedy is not a rah-rah guy. He's not a big talker. Keedy is the one guy that every single guy on our club respects. They respect what he's done in the past. They respect the fact that here's a guy who could have left and said, this is my school, this is my team, I want to help fix this. And he has, I mean, you can't imagine the respect that the guy has from our other guys. And what kind of amazed me, it's even like the guys that just, that came in that are kind of basically 1-year guys. The respect that they have, and Emmett has a lot to do with that as well. But they have a lot of respect for the guy. A lot of respect for the guy that he stayed the course.
I guess what I'm asking then is, do you have to help Joe a little bit? I mean, if you were playing a team that played 15 guys, running in and out, you could wear him out. Do you have to? Is it not as much help there with the way they play, the style?
I haven't seen Joe run out of gas, have you?
Okay.
I mean, I honestly haven't. I haven't seen him run out of gas in practice or game. I wouldn't expect him to do it now.
Coach, thank you.
Mm-hmm.